Susan, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. Could you please take a moment and tell us what your role is at ADT and what you're responsible for?
I'm on the collaboration team and responsible for managing our Office 365 environment, which allows our 20,000 plus employees all over the country to stay connected and work together. One of our larger projects was to rebuild ADT's intranet, which we chose to build it on SharePoint Online.
So, Susan, you and I have done a lot of work over the years together on a number of different projects centered around Office 365 and Modern Workplace. And it has been an absolute pleasure being able to watch ADT's journey and see how you've really innovated on the Microsoft productivity stack throughout the years. And one of these focus areas for you in recent memory is around employee engagement. Where does internal communications at ADT fit in for developing company culture and that type of employee engagement?
Employee engagement is a priority for us. Part of enhancing the employee experience is sending thoughtful communications regarding our company's news, goals, and performance. We want to foster a culture of community where employees are encouraged to collaborate, to learn, to provide feedback, to give recognition where it's due. It's important that employees are comfortable providing feedback and that they know management is listening.
And so, how many different communications tools does ADT use currently to accomplish just that?
We have two main forms of corporate-wide communication. We have a newsletter and articles that are posted to our intranet. Our intranet is displayed right inside of Teams using Viva Connections. For more targeted messaging to certain groups, we would use Viva Engage and even direct messaging inside of Teams using the company communicator app.
So, it sounds like ADT has gotten to a fairly streamlined and efficient state for facilitating that type of internal employee communications. But prior to getting there, what are some of the things that you heard from your business units about areas to improve internal communications efficiency? And what were the challenges you saw in delivering news and information to your employees at the time?
Before Viva Connections, the only form of communication was this large formatted newsletter, which one of the big issues was that the information wasn't being consumed timely. We have a large frontline worker presence in the field on mobile devices and tablets. And we heard that reading a large format newsletter was something that was done later when they were back in an office on a computer. Also, having to switch constantly between applications breaks the flow of work and it can be disruptive. We knew we had to go with a mobile first approach.
You bring up a really good point specific to your frontline worker employee base, because it's not really just about the quality and the timeliness of the delivery mechanism that is getting the news and information to our employees. There's also this factor of if the actual experience of consuming the news and information is poor, then our users will also be less likely to read and watch this content that we're putting all of our energy into creating. How did you end up addressing all of these feedback points that you were receiving from the business and your users?
Well, we took all this feedback and we spent a great deal of time designing our intranet so that it was mobile friendly. It allowed for real-time push notifications of bite-sized news articles as soon as they were published. Employees can consume the data, they can comment, they can share news without ever having to switch modalities. Viva Connections allowed us to achieve our design goals, and it packaged our intranet neatly right inside of Teams.
I actually hear that from customers a lot, that when they began to use Teams as this hub for really everything productivity and engagement, it really was a total game changer. Why did ADT decide to use Teams as the platform for delivering these corporate communications activities?
Using Teams to disseminate information was an easy decision. Most of our employees already spend their entire day inside of Teams doing everything from collaborating with others, accessing forms, automation, even engaging with bots. So having the information surface right inside of Teams without ever having to switch to a different app, it just made sense. And we've had overwhelmingly positive feedback. They love it.
I love the strategy here. By bringing all of these apps and tools and information into Teams, you're meeting your employees where they already are, instead of continually trying to push them into places that they aren't naturally in on a day-to-day basis. This is way more effective, and for the purposes of internal communications, increases the likelihood that they're actually going to consume the content. It sounds like this has been a really transformative journey for ADT's internal communication strategy. What's been the impact to the corporate communications professionals and to the overall employee experience?
We've heard feedback that information is just so much easier to find. Everything is easily searchable. Not only does information surface right inside of the app, but it's also easier to interact with. They tag people, they comment, they share. It's more of a experience that they can collaborate with other people on. Our communications department is also better able to control the information that's published since it's managed from a single location. We have formal content policies and expiration dates, so it's easier for them to control the information.
Well, it does sound like your results have been overwhelmingly positive. But what's next for ADT? Are there any other areas of opportunity that you see to further develop and refine your internal communication strategy moving forward?
Actually, yes. We are looking for ways to optimize the publishing of content to various channels from a single platform. There are scenarios where we would send the same message to a SharePoint news article or to Teams channel and to Viva Engage. So it would save a great deal of time to be able to publish to all these different channels all at once from a single publishing event. Also, being able to incorporate and tie back feedback from pulse surveys is on the horizon.
Well, I do think we have a few things coming down the pike that can help you in that regard. I guess in closing, I'm wondering if you could maybe, for anybody who's listening, for anybody who's watching, that is maybe just starting to think about how they can transform the way that they engage employees and deliver corporate news. Can you give them any advice or any lessons learned based off of your own experience having successfully done this in such a large corporate environment?
Well, the only thing I would really say is get feedback from as many team members as possible. Uh, our our journey is really successful because we got as much feedback as possible from as many different departments and users as possible. And together we were able to build something with ideas that we wouldn't have thought of on our own.
I think that's awesome advice and really great sentiment. And thank you for including your Microsoft team during this process. I'd like to think we were at least a little bit helpful.
Yep.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing a little bit about ADT's transformation journey with corporate communications. We look forward to seeing what's next for ADT and seeing more of the great work that you produce. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.